Good evening, everyone. We will start tonight's study with a message from our daily bread, written by Emmanuel through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. Message to anyone, entitled Deep Water. And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Go out into deep water and cast your nets in order to fish." From Luke chapter 5, verse 4. This verse leads us to think about our companions in struggle who feel forsaken in the human experience. A disquieting sensation of loneliness cuts them to the heart. They weep from longing and pain, renewing their afflictions over and over. They believe that fate has reserved the cup of unending bitterness for them. They sorrowfully recall the days of childhood and youth, and the hopes that have been dashed to pieces in the conflicts of the world. At every moment, they inwardly experience the vague uproar of memories that increase their feelings of emptiness. The fact is, all mortals experience these periods of anguish. If someone has not yet experienced them on a particular stretch of the road, their turn will come nevertheless, because, generally speaking, nearly every spirit departs the flesh when the cold signs of winter increase around it. So, when your time of difficulty arrives, assure yourself that the days for fishing in deep water have come to your soul, and that it is time to search for true values without the incentive of certain illusions of the material experience. If you find yourself alone, if you feel forsaken, remember that beyond the grave, there are friends watching over you and lovingly waiting for you. The Father never forsakes his children. Therefore, if you find yourself without family ties, without true friends on the transitory landscape of the planet, it is because Jesus has sent you into the deep waters of life in order for you to test your acquisitions with hard lessons. Thank you. We now invite everyone for our initial prayer. Let us close our eyes and connect with our Creator and Master Jesus, the Lord of our lives. Dear God, we are humbled to be here tonight, learning with your messengers how we can strengthen ourselves, how we can improve and fortify ourselves to better serve you and strengthen the relationships in our lives. We pray for those that at this very moment are going through difficult relationships at home, at work, in the communities. We pray for those who are feeling desperate and who are contemplating taking their lives. And also those who are sick in hospitals, nursing homes, shelters. Those who lack the basic needs of life: food, water, and shelter. But mostly important, Father, we pray that everyone can feel your love, because at the end of the day, all each one of us wants is to be accepted and loved, and we know you loved us as anyone else. You love us unconditionally, and you accept us as we are. Thank you, dear God, for this opportunity to renew ourselves and to learn with your messengers of light. We then ask your permission to begin the study session of tonight. And so be it.
What's happening here? Oops, I forgot to have to share. Oh, wow. It's that one. Is it? Hello, hello, hello.
Also, all of them.
Just equal opportunity votes.
Hello, 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 hello. Oh, it doesn't work. Hello, hello, hello.
Now it does.
Yeah. Looks like that's strange. But if you want to turn it off, that's okay. We can turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it. Also, so you can see it.
Oh, it's a microphone. Yeah, we can set up clips.
Let me just make sure that I'm doing. Yeah. Right? Oh, the critical piece. Not critical piece now.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Prayer. Yeah. Okay. Now we need to make sure that the lights glow, right? Yeah. Did you lock the door? Don't lock
No.
because Carol always coming. Because her train is late. It's an exception that is reasonable because she's coming from the left. Right? So today we're going to study chapter 6. We skipped chapter 5 for the time being. And we'll come back to it later. But we are talking today about a topic that is fascinating. Commitment. You say the word and people run away. Right?
Especially for marriage.
Especially for relationships. Not only marriage, parenting too. Parents want to have wonderful children that somebody else raises. But they don't want to raise them. They claim, I have to work. If we had less ambitions, we could raise better children. That's for sure. To have wonderful children, we need to be present. And we cannot complain when they grow older. They look at us, they don't want to see us. Because when they were younger, we're not present. We were not present. And we're saying, we're busy. Actually, we were not busy. We could squeeze in some time, quality time every day. But we didn't care. Now they don't care. And that's how it is. Commitment. It begins with the couple. We need to begin as Emmanuel begins. Emmanuel has so much to share. And he begins with the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 12, item 7. It's unbelievable what he says. You want to read it for us, John, please? Do you mind?
Sure. Our duty of the heart. People's inner duty is left to their free will. The sting of conscience, that guardian of inner rectitude, warns and upholds them, but it is held back, often powerless, before the sophistry of poison. Passion.
Sorry.
When faithfully obeyed, the duty of the heart uplifts people. But how is such a duty determined? Where does it begin? Where does it end? Duty begins precisely at the point in which you threaten your neighbor. You threaten your neighbor's happiness or peace of mind. It ends at the limit you would not want to see surpassed regarding yourselves.
So let us, talking about commitment, let us think about, since we're talking about parenting, you are a baby. God assigned you to be taken care of by these parents. And they say, I'm busy, and take you to childcare. Somebody else is going to take care of you. How would you feel? Terrible. You feel the vibrations. The babies don't have that type of consciousness that we think they feel. They feel. They feel that we prioritize our careers, ourselves, our ego, our ambitions versus them. And then they grow. They don't want to see our face anymore. How many parents do I know? Many. Whose children don't want to see their face. Many. Why? Oh, but now I care. Now it's too late. Now it's too late. Too late. Because the wound is deep. And it begins when they are in our womb. To say the least. But it's not only about parenting. Of course, we're talking about relationships, couple, romantic relationships. But the duty of the heart, Emmanuel says, begins where we threaten somebody else's happiness and peace of mind. So if, by any chance, I am at work and somebody comes and says, Vanessa, what can I do to help you? That question alone can be a bother. If it doesn't come with a genuine willingness to help, just to say, I'm just pretending that I care, because I know you're super busy, you're not going to tell me, but just so you know that I care. Don't ask if you don't mean it, because then you're bothering. The peace of mind of the person, now the person has another load to find a job for you, to find a task to give to you. And that is not our duty of the heart. At home, when children want to help us, they don't ask. They see you washing the dishes, they come. Like we saw last Sunday, somebody who was visiting us, who was coming here for the first time, and in silence, the person was coming and going, helping us without asking a question, in deep harmony. That is the duty of the heart. You observe so carefully. You know, it's like orchestra. You listen and you join in. You know exactly where to jump in and harmoniously get into the orchestra. And that's what we're talking about, the duty of the heart. To exemplify what Emmanuel is going to unfold, then we have Heaven and Hell, the reality show. Can you imagine? I wish we
True
were
reality show.
filmmakers. That would be the first Netflix series we would do. To film all the cases. May we say it so much that one day it manifests so clearly. You can see a Netflix series. All the cases. And this case is unbelievable. Luis and Victorine, they are dating. And then they get engaged. They already have a date for the wedding. And Luis conveniently comes every day for lunch and dinner at Victorine's house. Okay? And you think, maybe Victorine loves him. Well, one day. They are having their meal and they have an argument. They really don't think alike. To the point that Louis says, I'm out of here. He leaves. And then he comes back. She doesn't open the door. He thought to himself, maybe tomorrow she's going to open the door. Maybe a good night of sleep, she's going to think twice. Comes back next day. She doesn't open the door. And she says, it's over. He says, okay, Victorine, is that what you want? You got what you want. I'm done. And she hears a loud noise, doesn't know what it is, as if he was sitting down. You know, that noise of a body going down the door, seated. That thump. She didn't care. Later, a guy is passing by, who's in the neighborhood, and sees the scene, shocking scene. He put a knife in his chest, killed himself. When she hears the noise of the neighbor screaming out loud, she opens the door in shock herself. He killed himself out of love, quote unquote. Is it love? Okay. The beauty of this, not the story, but the beauty of Kardec opening his mediumistic meeting to understand the aftermath, spiritually speaking, is wonderful for us. The first question he asks the spirit who is coordinating the meeting, let's recall that at Kardec's time, who was the spirit mentor of the Spiritist Society of Paris? Of course, the name was Spiritist Society of Spiritist Studies, okay? But who was the mentor? St. Louis was a king, a good king. There are good kings and good queens, and he was a good king. He was the spirit mentor of the Spiritist Society of Paris. So when Kardec wanted some understanding, he got it from him through the mediums. And he asked the question, was the young woman Victorine at all responsible for Louis' suicide? Answer, yes, because she didn't actually love him to begin with. She was looking for an excuse to break up with him. She did toward the beginning of the relationship what she would have done later anyway. She didn't love him. The dialogue goes on, and we get to know that she's responsible because she promised, remember, she was engaged. They had the wedding date already set. People already knew in the newspapers they would get married. But at the end of the day, she didn't want it. But she kept on the promise, or kept the promise on. And in one argument, so when people say, oh, he left me because of one argument, come here, read this. No. You thought they wanted, but they don't. They were long gone. You didn't see it. Lack of emotional intelligence. We're so self-absorbed that we can barely see how others feel. It's the story of our lives. But once we learn it, we open our eyes. But is Louis responsible for his own suicide? Yes or no? Yes. But at the end of the case, St. Louis explains to us. Louis himself comes and talks about it, how he felt about it, or how his experience. So he's suffering. So though Victorine was responsible, mainly responsible, he's not having a peace of mind. He's wrong. He's also responsible for cutting short his life. And he's already, St. Louis says, taking the consequences. Though he says that committing suicide out of love is less problematic than planning your suicide. When people plan ahead. In this case, it was out of passion, not true love. Because in this case, as St. Louis says, if you really love, you don't kill yourself. Because if you love her, you wouldn't inflict that pain, that guilt in her. You'd say, it's okay, go away. I'll keep on loving you. So the spirits are not saying it's okay to commit suicide out of passion. Let's change the word. It's not okay. There are consequences. You have to begin anew. You come back in a body that is not well functioning because of the consequences, the lesion that we created in our spiritual body. But here we're seeing a true case of spiritual commitment, effective commitment that was not fulfilled. Let's go back. What did the gospel say? Duty begins precisely at the point in which you threaten your neighbor's happiness or peace of mind. So Kardec asked, should she have got married to him? Then, anyways? And he says, well, she shouldn't have committed herself to it. So we need to tell our children, our teens, that before their ego, there are feelings. Who are we to cast a stone? Huh? None of us. We're just reproducing like parrots. The text is saying, we're saying to us, so it means, and we also reprogram our minds that we cannot promise if we cannot fulfill it, and we need to be also very kind and charitable in the way we do it. Now it's very common to ghost out. Disappear. She ghosted me. He ghosted me. Cowards. When people are coward, that's what they do. They are weak. Because when you're courageous, you say, you're a great person. I know people don't like to hear that. How come he or she said I'm great, but they don't want to say, but we are not going to match. That's it. Sorry, I apologize. Be courageous. Allow the person to be mad and cry. Some people claim, I don't like when people cry in front of me. Let them cry. But at least you'll be truthful. But don't enter the relationship just out of using people as objects. So let's talk more about this. Emmanuel has a lot to share. He begins that's how he begins, huh? He begins by saying, war effectively scourges humanity, sowing terror and slaughter amongst nations. Pause, purposefully. If it's blacked out, it's on purpose. When Ukraine and Russia started the war, actually Russia started a war in Ukraine, the whole world, oh my gosh, the war. And Emmanuel is saying, this is nothing compared to the daily wars that begin in people's minds because of misguided affections through disdained commitments that covers the world of victims. So if there's one thing we can help the world change is teaching our children and teens to be more responsible with their feelings. First, don't fall in love just because. And a technique is this, huh? Don't fantasize, okay? Because now they are on the other side of the screen all the time. The apps, the dating apps, texting, even texting, they are text dating their boyfriend and girlfriends that they have in their work and the school and they barely see. And they are constantly. So they love the other person through text. But then when they meet, they're like, it's changed. I love you in the texting, the text dating. And when we see in person, it's different. And they go back and forth. And there they say, oh, I love you, I miss you. And then when they meet, they barely kiss, they barely give hands, they barely show affection. So they created a fantasy. So tell them, no fantasy, please. If you see and connect, it's great. If it doesn't, stop the text dating. Stop it. Don't flirt to fall in love either. You need to tell them. Teens and adults. Don't flirt and fantasize and flirt and fantasize and flirt. At the end of the day, you're going to spend a lot of vital energy. And then nothing happens. And then you're like, oh, I'm frustrated because it ended up in nothing. But that's not somebody else's fault. It's yours. Because you fantasized. You went from flirting to wedding and children. The other person didn't care at all. Because they never knew you were creating those images. It's not their fault, it's yours. So we need to grow up, be mature, and leave the Disneyland of romance for Disney. Because even Disney doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Disney doesn't produce those things anymore. Because it's not real. It's not real. So we need to instrument this generation with tools, as Emmanuel said in the other chapter about dating. We need to reason our emotions. Don't invest and go to bankruptcy emotionally. And then blame on the other person. You decided to go that route. Then he's going to talk about the laws of the universe. He says the laws of the universe will wait for us for millennia to come. But they will, in the end, inscribe in themselves the characters of light and characters of light within our own conscience. And these laws dictate that we love others as we love ourselves. We wish everybody read this before they did anything. If you want to have fun, say it. To say the least. Don't pretend. Don't say, yeah, it's great. And then go home and say, it's not it. Oh, but she said, I love you. And the next day she broke up with me. So what is that all about? It's a disdained commitment. Camila, would you like to read this big piece, please?
A matter of affectivity, in the course of the centuries, countless times we have soared in the direction of narcissism and stretched out in the voluptuousness of sterile pleasure. We have trampled over the feelings of others, impelling estimable and noble beings to processes of anguish and criminality. After binding them to ourselves with the bond of bright promises, which we discarded in an ill-thought-out movement.
It's hard. He writes in a way that's hard. But highlights here. Narcissism. We have been too self-absorbed to the point that we don't see others' needs. It's a kind of psychopathy. Okay? It's the opposite for empathy. Empathy, people feel what others feel. When we are at the other extreme, we don't care. We only feel like, you're not giving me this, you are giving me that, you are not giving me this, you're giving me that. This is narcissism. When children are little, it's natural that they are thinking of themselves and themselves, but we need to help them. Since the beginning, saying, as St. Augustine says in chapter 14, item 9, if you teach your children to be selfish, they will be selfish with you. And then don't complain. You taught them that. Gave them everything, good luck. They're going to get everything and forget about you. That's the order of things. Narcissism, we've been there, done that. Hopefully, we're getting out of it. We're not there yet. We're still quite self-absorbed, thinking of our needs and how people fit in. How they fit in our needs. And having pleasure in vain. Sterile pleasure means it doesn't go anywhere. It's just sex and the flirtation. Sometimes people don't have physical sex, but they flirt. In the Domains of Mediumship book, in the realm of mediumship, by André Luiz through Chico Xavier, we get a whole chapter talking about a man who fluttered casually in the street. He's married, he fluttered like casually in the street. Flirted. He went home, and when he got home, slept, the two spirits whom he flirted with were there with him. So he was having sterile pleasure there and here. Now, when he says we trampled over the feelings of others, impelling estimable and noble beings to the process of anguish and criminality. How many people quit life like Louis? Or, like in the book Sex and Destiny, we see that woman, I forgot her name, let me see to recall. What's the name of the woman married to Claudio? The woman married to Claudio? Marcia, in a previous life, was married, but then somebody seduced her, she started an affair, and then later on, this boy, who turns to be Brother Felix later, escapes the commitment and turns her head into her father, breaking the marriage. 150 years later, she's there again, married to the man, but they have this love-hatred relationship, right? Why? Because in the past, they all messed up. But it began with somebody who disdained the commitment and wanted sterile pleasure. Pleasure for pleasure. What's going to happen next? So we need to ask, what is this going to enter into? Is this it? We're here just because if we're not building a family, or the couple is not joining forces to help humanity, it's sterile pleasure. It's hard to say this. It's true. When people are younger, we understand. They're still figuring it out. When we get older, the laws of life are hitting on us. Every time that a given person invites another to sexual communion or accepts from someone an appeal innocence on the basis of affinity and trust, a circuit of forces through which the pair physically nourishes themselves of spiritual energies is established on a reciprocal basis. Does he say how many times you need to have sex for this circuit to establish? Why? Because he only takes one night stand. One day stand, one night stand. And then we're connected to all these people. If this relationship is producing something good, we're physically nourishing ourselves, spiritually nourishing ourselves, vibratorily nourishing ourselves. If not, we're hurting ourselves. I know couples who are married for decades, but sometimes the wife feels annoyed by the husband, doesn't feel like sleeping on the same bed, something. And you're like, what's happening? Sometimes the husband is having an affair. They feel, or they are engaged in pornography. So they have companions that come during the night, and the wife feels repulsive, the repulsion towards the scenario. They can't explain. Because in between them, there is this circuit of forces, and there is interference. They can't explain why, but they feel. So it's so important. Emmanuel is so fair that he says, the person who invites and the person who accepts. Or, so we can't say he or she deceived me. I'm responsible for accepting it. I could have said no. On the basis of affinity and trust. It's hard. Because then we look at ourselves, how come I didn't see it coming? Oh, it happens. We have to wake up. But sometimes, no matter how hard we give to ourselves to the relationship, the person has their own history. They have their decision. I remember one day, and I can say this in public because there's no problem. Godinho, who is the president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation currently, and helped us found the Spiritist Side of Baltimore and later supported us in the Spiritist Side of Virginia when he was leaving the U.S. We're doing several studies with him, and he's married, has children, great children. And I asked him once, what if your wife one day cheats on you? What do you do? And he said, she's a wonderful wife. I know she's never going to do it. She loves me to tears and vice versa. But I said, the case of the study, and I said, what would you do? And he said, well, she made her choice. I would respect her choice. In any moment, he said anything victimized, like, how come? No, she would never do this. He said, I would respect her and allow her to be what she wants to be. And I would respect her. And I believe he would, because he's very balanced. But majority of us wouldn't. And that's what we're going to talk next. When one of the partners deviates from the commitment made, without just reason, they harm the other in sustaining their emotive balance. whatever the field of circumstances in which that commitment is made. So remember, what did he say before? When we have this sexual communion, we create this energy field that nourishes us. When one breaks it, it's hurting the other. So, given the rupture in the system of exchanging magnetic charges of maintenance from soul to soul, the harmed partner, if they do not have superior knowledge in self-defense, they panic without being able to foresee the lack of control that many times borders delinquency. Meaning, any type of crime, including suicide. Sometimes homicide, suicide. So we have this fluidic connection. There is what he calls exchanging magnetic charges of maintenance. And then it's ruptured. If the other person doesn't have superior knowledge in self-defense, they panic. That's why many people, when they break up, they're like, I don't know what to do. I feel so weak. I feel so alone. Because they're not strong within. What do they lack? Superior knowledge. What superior knowledge? PhD? No. Spiritual. But this knowledge comes with construction in the good. They understand why. And they say, like Godinho said, it's her choice. So I'm not going to panic. It's not about me. It's about them. They can't maintain it like we couldn't maintain it in the past. Such results of imprudence and lack of vigilance have repercussions on the aggressor. So now we're talking what's going to happen, not to the person that was left out, but to us who created the aggression. He calls it the aggressor. When the person does not fulfill their commitment, they become an aggressor who will partake in the consequences unleashed by him or herself, giving them the shared sowing of conflicts and frustrations that will carry into the future. And then we are reborn. How many people nowadays are reborn and they're like, I don't want to be in a relationship. Why? You've never been in one. I don't feel good about it. I'm good at it. At all. Why? And there are other types of people who don't want a commitment at all. Not because they want to go from one partner to the next, but because they are lazy. Look at the cases of hardened spirits. We couldn't bring it today because it would be too much. 2 cases of hardened spirits who are lazy, idle, because they're so selfish, self-absorbed. They don't want to commit with anybody. As parents, as partners, so they are lousy parents, lousy partners, because they don't want the work of the relationship. Lack of prudence, which requires reasoning, and vigilance, which requires reasoning. In the books by André Luiz, we have André Luiz talks about the animal brain, the reptilian brain, from the midbrain down, and the human brain, which is the more evolved, the prefrontal cortex and the cortical areas, saying that When we are working from the midbrain down, we are like this. We want pleasure out of pleasure. We're not being humans, we're being animals. Friends, it's the story of our lives. None of us in two worlds but Jesus can say, oh, I haven't been there, I have not done that. We've done it, not in this life, in previous lives, but now we know, and we need to help the new generation too. If we have already figured it out, now it's time to prepare by helping the new generation to be less complicated. Human justice. One day, Emmanuel says, earthly legislators will also perceive that divine justice also reaches the violators of the law of love and determines that the reflexes of the affective withdrawal that they perpetrate against others be installed in their own conscience. We're getting there, right? We are. Our laws are being better and better, but we still have a long way. We need to start citations and tickets to people at dating time. You're dating without a cause. Right? Dating without a cause.
Opening the road to parenting certification.
Right? Yes. Oh, yeah.
You had citation before, can't parent.
Exactly. Can't parent. And then nobody's going to be born again. Reincarnation stops. Right? That's why we're not there yet.
People realize divine justice. It's a new day.
It's a new day. New day on earth. That's why we need to persist in knowing this and sharing the news generation after generation till we are reborn and we do it right. Because then they will remind us of what we shared with them. Right? Because we're still learning. It's good to flirt, right? We don't blame on people. When you are young, remember, oh, flirting, feels good, fall in love, fantasize. Now you come back and say, it's such a headache when you do it that way. So you're like, no, it's a fantasy. It's an illusion. It's a mirage in the desert. It's not worthwhile. Thank God pain came and taught us a lesson. And that's why the lesson comes in equations. Emmanuel's expression will not escape the unfortunate equations of sentimental commitments, unfairly depreciated, which we will redeem in a timely manner, installment by installment, for the accounting of the principles of cause and effect. If you look at this picture, it's probably less complicated than these equations of sentimental commitments.
That's really well said.
Right. Remember the book 2,000 years ago? When Aurelia goes to the psychic, because she is in love with her cousin's husband-to-be, boyfriend then, and then fiancé. And he says, you shouldn't go there. In the past, you had a relationship. That's why you're crazy about the man. Yes, but that doesn't mean because in previous lives you had a relationship that you should repeat it in this. In this, you're supposed to stay where you are. And they have a commitment, and you shouldn't disturb. Does she listen? No. And he predicts prophetically, if you go through this route, you're going to be killed by a knife in a tragic way. And that's exactly how she dies. Read the book because there's story. But we don't listen. We want it. Because I want it, and I want it, and I want it. Tragedy unfolds. Let me share with you. When I read in the news that this man was in his 80s, married to his wife of long time. His children already had given him grandchildren. His wife is now in need of his loving care because she cannot take care of herself. She's developing Alzheimer. He has his own things, but he feels like as materialistic as he is. He feels, why am I going to take care of her? Why am I going to take care of her? They've been together for decades. But she didn't notice that she was next to a partner who was so materialistic that he thought that quitting life, cutting life short would be the best solution. So he kills her and kills himself and leaves a letter to his children, grandchildren saying, I think this is the best way for all of us. So she doesn't suffer and I don't suffer. Now he's suffering. And he left a legacy for generations to come. And we think that our partner can be materialistic. They're not going to hurt us. Mamma mia. If they are not already hurting us, as Bento Joseph says prophetically, they would. In ways unimagined. And then we, because of our stubbornness, will be co-responsible, like Victorine. In her case, she disdained the commitment. In our case, because we insisted in a relationship that shouldn't be. Or we insisted in keeping our partner ignorant of life, thinking that their ignorance would not hurt us. So that's why we need to push our partners to grow, develop. Not in a way saying, you have to read this book. But sharing. Like, I've read this, I've read that. Because their ignorance is going to hurt us. Sometimes at deathbed. When they make a decision that they are not supposed to. We were co-responsible because we were selfish. We loved coming to the Spiritist Center, learning it ourselves. It was so comfortable. They don't want it. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Because then the decisions they make towards our children, grandchildren, and ourselves, and others is our co-responsibility. Because we knew, and Humberto de Campos says in the book, Brothers Among Brothers of Other Lands, retelling the parable of the talents. The Spiritist has that talent to shed light of discernment where they are. So if in our homes we keep our partners ignorant, our children ignorant, we'll be co-responsible for what happens to them, to others, and ourselves because we had the lamp and we kept it under the bushel. We're not going to proselytize. We're not going to go and bang on their door and say, you have to learn it. But we have to be creative, finding a way to enchant them with these teachings, to find a way for them to read these books, to get to know, to come to the center. If their children are here, they come to the lessons. if they are teens as well. And our partners, if they don't come, they will read, they will watch, they will listen. Or we're not fulfilling our task with them. In this equation of sentimental commitments that we have, as he says, unfairly depreciated. Now, he wraps it up talking about what's going to happen then. What's going to happen? We failed, betrayed, cheated, left, abandoned, ghosted the person. We will always reincarnate. That's what it is.
We could be in it. We will always be.
Exactly. That's exactly how he says in the book. In Portuguese, he says, we will always reincarnate until we exonerate our spirit from the mutilations and conflicts that have arisen in the climate of thoughtlessness. But why? Please, Mama, why? 10 more reincarnations because we decided to be a Tinder member. Then 10 more reincarnations because of Tinder. Ticket for many reincarnations, difficult ones. Because then we're going to rescue ourselves, meeting everybody we have hurt, everybody we have deceived, everybody we have eluded, everybody we have depreciated, everybody we made feel terrible because we didn't care. And the mutilations inside of our spiritual body, lesions, inner conflicts. The people who are reborn and say, I'm married and I can't have a sexual relationship, though I love my husband. Why? They created their own inner conflict. They don't surrender anymore because they abused it. And now they have an inhibition. I don't feel pleasure. How many cases nowadays? The case of majority of people on earth. Women claiming, it's so hard for me to reach the climax. We've been there, done that. We reached so much climax in the past, and now we don't. See, we abused it. And now we have to reharmonize ourselves because of our thoughtlessness. Look at Aurelia again in 2,000 years ago by Emmanuel. She says she wants Pliny. Her cousin gets married to him. She goes and seduces him. He's weak. She's having an affair. She finds a way. She entraps the whole scenario, the family. She gets him out of the marriage. Now she has Pliny all for herself. He goes to work. When he comes back, she has a musician with him. Seriously? You destroyed your cousin's marriage, saying you love this boy since you were a kid. This is what we call whim. And as Emmanuel says, she's the most terrible person in that story. Worse than her mother, because she killed her mother too. She's a criminal from A to Z. Thanks to her mother, who taught her well. Because her mom, she was married to a man, and her mom was sick. The mom was at home, and her husband was so nice. While she was having fun at parties, her husband, Aurelia's husband, was taking care of the mom. And then the mom was, in her delusions of the disease. And she came in when she overheard that the mom was going to tell him that she was having an affair with the other man. So she says, no, if she does that, I'm gonna kill her before she... So she doesn't care, it's her mom. She says, done with the mom, poison the mom. And the husband kills himself.
That was 2,000 years ago.
That's why it's good to
We gotta
read. Read.
read it. I don't remember that.
Yeah. These are books that are good to read and reread because Emmanuel has so many lessons in the book. And that's what we call thoughtlessness. We will learn that we'll never harm others without harming ourselves. Never. Never. So what do we need? As usual, the therapy of the gospel. Always. The gospel according to Spiritism explains it, but it's the good news that Jesus brings to us. To be thoughtful. I love that music that was composed by John Lennon when he talks, woman, I can hardly express. He says, right? Woman, I can hardly express. Na 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 na, and my thoughtlessness. That says exactly what he's saying. We need to be more thoughtful, more caring. We were not till now, meaning now the present story of our lives. Now we need it. The past, we're sorry, we bless. But now we need a different attitude. It's not a different behavior, because behaviors not necessarily are deeply rooted in our vibrations. It may just be an appearance. But we're talking about a vibratory attitude. Vibratory attitude. Sometimes people don't approach us because they feel to wrap up, okay? That's the last case we're going to study. Why don't some people sometimes want a commitment with us? Because they look at us and they say, you're high maintenance. You're so selfish. You're so self-absorbed. I don't want to be there. And we're hurt. But we already hurt so many. That's why many people like cats, because cats are low maintenance, right? Compared to certain dogs like golden retrievers who are super high maintenance. Super. You're doing a prayer, they are there. Yeah. So depends on the cats.
There is that,
Right?
there is that.
Well, let's say some dogs are so easy too. They are there, they don't care, they don't ask for much, but certain dogs want you. And certain people, they always need you to give them attention, to give them this, to give them that, and people like feel it, they are like, okay, bye, see you. Because we are emanating what we've been for many lives. So we need to be less self-absorbed. Less what I want, what I this, more like, what's the therapy of the gospel? Humility and selflessness. The secret to healthy commitments is sealed in selflessness and humility. It's not about sitting down like, you're not giving me this. It's like, what can I give you that can make you happy? I see you're not happy. Is it because I'm not bringing $1 million to the table all the time? Because I know you would be happy if I did, but I can't. If that's what you want, if you thought I could give that to you because I am a PhD, PhDs don't get $1 million. That's why few people in America want to go for PhDs. That's why we have many importation of brains, right? Yeah. We bring outsiders because PhDs don't get $1 million. So if you thought that, and you're frustrated, I'm sorry. But what else can I give you other than $1 million? Can I give you something else? Because if you want love, I can give to you. If you want commitment, I can give to you. If you want care, I'll give it to you. So the therapy of the gospel is something that we need every day. To wrap up, let's stay with Jesus in our encounter with Jesus for our passes before our final prayer, okay? Let me just double check if everything is going well here. Yeah, nobody's questioning anything. If you guys who are on the internet, you have any question, comment, write to us. But now, let's stay with Jesus for a little longer, because he can balance us in ways unforeseen.
A good position. Breathe. Always slowly. As you breathe, relax. Let go of all of your tensions. Allow your body to release you. Spirit. The only way you can do this is by relaxing. Begin relaxing. As you breathe in a tranquil rhythm. Modern life causes us many pressures of a psychosocial nature that make us lose our harmony. Conflicts of various origins that unbalance us. Difficulties, which are in fact existential challenges that discourage us. But now, you will be able to free yourself from all these afflictions by sending to your unconscious in a mental reprogramming everything that is necessary for a healthy and harmonious existence. Visualize a mountain. Visualize a mountain. Or a mountain. Or a range of mountains. Whatever is familiar to you. Visualize it. Now, transfer yourself there. It is nighttime. Nature is festive. And you are at the top of the mountain. Let your eyes drop and reach the horizon. And you can still notice the last rays of sunshine. Note the other mountains are already in darkness. And the sky full of stars. Observe, you are alone. We are rarely alone. And now, you are alone. Alone with God. God fills the universe and is beyond it. At this moment, you can feel him closer. Let him penetrate you. At a distance, you can hear the music made by the wind, the various sounds of nature. And you're all alone on this immense mountain, or in the place of your choice. Walk slowly, absorbing the oxygen, nature's purest and most rarefied oxygen. Breathe it in. Let yourself be filled by this blessing that maintains organic life. All life on earth. Breathe in gently. Hold it. Breathe out. Look at the sky once again. You might identify some of the stars if you're familiar with them. But taking your eyes down in a straight line, you can see in front of you, at a long distance, the star that is moving. You can see a moving star. Observe it. It is shining brightly. It is coming towards you, and you are dazzled. As you contemplate it, it is coming closer and closer. And now, it's only yards away. It has the size of a human body, and it has become one. Observe this body, the long roads, the white material, the stoic head, surrounded by hair with combs of a honey-colored light, or a golden color. The beard over the slim chest, mixed with his hair. The strong nose. Observe the lips, full lips, slightly open, and the eyes like two torches. The ample forehead. You know him. It is Jesus. It is Jesus. Let's come closer to you. Observe him There he is. He comes a little closer, and you see him in all his glory, irradiating the gentle light. He looks at you. The expression is one of tenderness. There is an air of melancholy, and he emanates much love. He seems to say to you without words, ask me for something. I have come to help you. Ask me for something. This is a moment, a very important moment in your life. Don't ask for trivial things. Meditate on something with great meaning, something profound, something great. And when I count to 3, ask him for it. Be brief, without justifications, without explanations. Think about what you will request. Think about it. Now, I will count. 1, 2, 3. Now, ask him. He has already registered your request, and he opens his arms, coming closer to you, to embrace you. Embrace him. Embrace him. He melts in your arms and goes into you, disappearing within you. Remember that he said, I am the light. And he is within you now, impregnating your immortal and triumphant spirit. Do not become melancholic anymore. Do not think about possible future disappointments. Do not allow yourself to hold unjustified, tormenting ideas. He is within you. So say this: I am life, in that triumphant life. Say it again, and once again. Say, I am happiness in life. Repeat it. I am fulfilled, and so I shall remain. Look at yourself. You are irradiating his light. Again, look at yourself. You are irradiating his light. Breathe it. Hold it. Breathe out. Say to yourself, nothing of a disturbing nature deserves my attention. When I return to the objective reality. I will conserve the presence of Jesus within me, and I shall be healthy, happy. Even when I'm faced with the struggles of evolution, in view of the challenges, I will remain healthy as I am now. Project this onto your conscious mind and reprogram your life. You deserve to be happy, and you are happy. Now it is time to come back. Come back to the place where your body is. Come back. Take it totally. Feel its organic sensations. Keeping your eyes closed. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Listen to the music in the air. Hear it. Open your eyes. Feel the sensation of well-being that you retain. Gently move. If you want to, you can yawn. You can stretch. But whatever there might be, never lose touch with the sensation of well-being that you have brought back from the mountain or from the mount, wherever you were. Hold on to this sensation and repeat the experience periodically, helping Jesus to answer your request. Through a positive attitude, an idealistic mind, a pacified heart, and thanks to the inner change for the better that you will make in this very existence, so that you can be happy.
Keeping the image of our beloved Master Jesus, let us thank God for bringing us together tonight, for touching deeply into our hearts when we're talking about commitments. We reflect today in the commitments we have at our homes, the commitments at work, with everybody that would encounter, but most importantly, the spiritual commitments, our relationship with God. As we are here, feeling grateful for these moments of reflection, we want to thank the spirit doctors and nurses that came to visit us, that applied the necessary treatment that we needed. And we pray for anyone that is in need, visualizing hospitals, nursing homes, countries that are facing war or extreme weather. Let us visualize our planet receiving a healing shower at this very moment. We are truly blessed for being part of this current times and being able to team up with the works of our Master Jesus. With enormous gratitude in our hearts, we ask the permission and under the protection to close these moments of study, and so be it. Dear friends on the internet, see you next time.